So I'm Federica and I'm back to St. Peter's Dome. Do you remember last time we stopped on the first level, but this time I wanted to climb all the way up? These are just the last steps. I wanted to spare you the part when I'm almost dying, because I mean climbing 300 and more steps, it's a bit, overwhelming, let's say so. And since I'm not working that much, I'm overweight now, I'm not trained, and I'm old. It's about how old you feel, and I feel like I'm 87. By the way, so last time I was telling you about, Michelangelo that had to take over to continue the project of the construction of the Basilica when Antonio da San Gallo died in 1546. I don't want to, I'm too old, I'm unexperienced, and I don't like the project, so if you don't mind, I'll change everything. And this is what happened. So he gave a very important contribution to the construction of the Basilica. The Basilica looks like it is now because of the important contribution of Michelangelo and then the important contribution of Maderno. That was the one who actually completed it. But the dome is a very important, element of the Basilica that can be, I want to say, fully credited to Michelangelo, even if Michelangelo didn't have the chance to see it completed, because when Michelangelo died, they had built just the drum, the beautiful monumental drum that supports the dome itself. The dome is huge. The Statue of Liberty could fit in it, just imagine. And so even if Michelangelo didn't have the chance to, take care of the construction of it, we know that the people that took over when he died, so Giacomo della Porta and Domenico Fontana, in part they followed his instructions, they followed his projects, even if, as I was telling you the last time, he was always, very always ready to change his mind, change his projects, so his projects are not so clear for us, and probably they were not so clear for Giacomo della Porta and Domenico Fontana as well. By the way, the dome was completed, and I told you that the inner part, for sure, reflects Michelangelo's ideas. Probably the exterior part, it's slightly more pointed than Michelangelo wanted it to be, but anyway, it's beautiful, and now I'm here. I have to climb the last part, but guys, I'm a bit scared. I mean, I'm not claustrophobic, I'm not afraid of heights, but these steps, these corkscrew stairs are terrible, and I have a big problem, which is actually a complex I have. My feet are too long. Oh my God. Anyway, let's do it. So, this is the last part. These are probably the last, 20 steps. But I'm shaking. By the way, but it will be a glorious death. Anyway, so the dome was completed in 1590, and now it's beautiful to climb it, because when you go all the way up, when you reach the second level, the view is just amazing. I'm showing you. Oh, I survived. Can you see? Oh my. And oh, my umbrella. And oh, the sun. It was raining when I came. Yeah, it was raining even today. And look at that. Ta-ta! You can, of course, recognize the beautiful square, St. Peter's Square. Oh, look, they are setting everything for Christmas. So we have the Christmas tree. This year, the Christmas tree comes from Slovenia. It was donated by Slovenia, and it comes from a specific part of Slovenia in the south, where the 90% of the territory is covered with forests. So very beautiful. And of course we will have a ceramic nativity scene made by Italian artisans. Beautiful. But I mean, of course, you recognize the square with this, with with its 284 columns surrounding the square, and we also have 140 statues decorating not just the square but also the facade. The facade is decorated with statues representing Jesus, 11 apostles, and Saint John. 11 and not 12, because the 12th one, St Peter, is in the square, but you cannot see it from here because it's actually, you know, the view is blocked by the facade of the basilica. And you see the roof. Well, the basilica the square is beautiful because traditionally we say that Bernini, there was the genius who designed it. He wanted it to be a symbol for the arms of the Mother Church that hug you, embrace you, and protect you when you come to St. Peter's Basilica. I also read an alternative version, an alternative, you know, vision that is even more exciting in my opinion. It's an elliptical square, as you can see. And there's another very famous elliptical monument that is very famous in Rome, which is the Colosseum. And traditionally, now we know that this is probably not true. I mean, we have no historical evidence that the Colosseum was used for persecutions against Christians. But in the 17th century, Bernini and his contemporaries that believed that those horrible executions had taken place at the Colosseum. And so apparently, according to these art historians whose name I don't remember, I'm sorry guys, my memory, oh my god, it's falling apart. But anyway, so it says that the square is like a Christian Colosseum, and the Christians in this case are not on stage to be killed, but they are the spectators. So they are not the protagonists of what's going on stage, but they are the spectators, and the show that is going on in the square is the conversion of the hearts of the people that come to the basilica. These are two very beautiful ways of, you know, analyzing and describing and looking at the square, in my opinion. And I have to be honest, when Bernini says that he wanted to have these arms hugging the people in the square, well, I felt this when I came here the night when John Paul II died on April the 2nd, 2005. I was in the square with a few friends of mine, and from the square you can see the Apostolic Palace. Can you see? So when we heard the news on the radio, we decided to come, and there were hundreds and hundreds of people in the square. And it was beautiful because the arms of the church were actually hugging us in this very emotional moment. It was very beautiful, and that was when, as an art historian, I understood Bernini's project. It was great. You know that usually in the square you have the papal audience going on, not during summer because it's definitely too hot, and when it rains, people meet in the beautiful auditorium, in the Aula Nervi, that is half on the Vatican territory and half in the Vatican, in Italian territory. But the Italian territory, I mean, the Italian part is an extraterritorial, you know, area, and they could accommodate more than 6,000 people in this beautiful auditorium designed by Nervi, an Italian architect. And you have an incredible number of solar panels that were installed just a few years ago, and this is probably one of the biggest structures that is actually, you know, exploiting natural sources of energy. So modern if compared with the architecture dating back to the 17th century that we have in the square, but modern not just structurally but also philosophically, let's say. So you have the roof, and I want to show you these strange iron elements that you can see here. Can you guess what they are for? For candles, because even in the past they loved to see the dome lighted, at least in very special occasions. So there were people whose job was climbing all the way up and putting candles here so that they could light up the dome during night. It's fun because you can find these elements, these iron, you know, structures just in the front. So probably to save time, to save candles, and to save energies, just the front of the basilica could be lighted up in those occasions. I'm walking all around, and I want to show you a few more things, such as the beautiful Apostolic Palace, there. That should be the official residence of the Pope, built in the 16th century, in the second half of the 16th century, but the Pope is not living there now, I think you know, because he lives in a different building that I'm showing you, because you can see it from here. And you also have probably one of the most famous monuments that we have here in the Vatican, which is the Sistine Chapel. It's quite impossible from the outside to see how beautiful it is from the inside. This sloping roof is protecting the beautiful ceiling painted by Michelangelo, and you see the windows, and there are the ones where you see the smoke coming out after the election of the Pope, after the conclave. Beautiful, isn't it? And the Apostolic Palace, that is used even nowadays for special occasions, for special ceremonies, and of course for the Angelus, which is the weekly blessing of the Pope that you can see on TV every Sunday at noon. The Sistine Chapel, and then we have the museums. I don't know if you ever had the chance to visit the museums with us. It's probably one of the biggest museums in the world, with an incredible massive collection. It is calculated that we have 16 kilometers of artworks in the Vatican Museum, which are absolutely incredible. You can probably recognize, well, this is the parking lot for the people working in the Vatican, and then you have the entrance to the Vatican Library and the Vatican Archive. And then you have the famous pine cone courtyard with the big pine cone. Can you see it in bronze? And the big bronze sphere that was a donation for the Pope John Paul II, and it was displayed there for the first time in 1990. And then you have the massive, long, structure with the famous galleries that usually take you to the Raphael's rooms and to the Sistine Chapel. I don't know if you had the chance to visit the museums. You remember the Gallery of the Candelabras and the Gallery of the Tapestries, the Gallery of the Maps. Can I be honest with you? I feel bad when I see it so empty and solitary. What a pity. The museums will reopen here on January the 15th, probably. These are the last dispositions we have. Oh, by the way, you also see here the famous Via della Concillaciones, so this, can I say, horrible street that was built to celebrate the independence of the Vatican City, and it was built to be a symbol of the good relationships between the Italian government and the Vatican one. So Mussolini was the one who commissioned it, and you have to imagine that where the street is now, well, in the past you could find a huge, very beautiful and very picturesque medieval neighborhood that was just dismantled and destroyed and razed to the ground in order to have Via della Concillazione. That had to be a symbol for this, I told you, good political relationship between Italy and the Vatican City. And there, of course, you can see Castel Sant'Angelo Castle, that was the mausoleum of the Emperor Hadrian, and then it became a medieval fortress, and is connected to the Vatican palaces thanks to the famous Passetto, this corridor, which is 800 meters long, that a few popes used to save their lives in the past, because it takes you inside the mausoleum, that then used as a fortress was probably the safest place in the world where to hide. And then I told you we have the Vatican Museums. That you have, I don't know if you ever had a chance to visit with us, but usually we at the beginning we take you to the terrace where you can take a picture of the dome. So now you have the opposite point of view, and then you have the picture gallery with more than 500 masterpieces, 500 paintings, absolutely gorgeous. While apparently there are more than 4,000 statues displayed in the Vatican Palace that then became the Vatican Museum. Now, and there are a few people here today. I was completely alone when I came here the first time. And then, so you have the picture gallery, and there you have a beautiful little villa. We call it the Casino di Pio IV. So the little house of Pius IV that was built in the late 1500s, and now it is very important because we have the Pontifical Academy of Science and Nature in there. So there are offices where there are a few members of this important, academy. They are trying to study and have the Catholic Church progressing in mathematics and science, which is very interesting. And you have, of course, the beautiful Vatican Gardens. There's something really interesting in the Vatican Gardens that I want to show you. You probably remember the former Pope Benedict XVI. There was the one who resigned. In 2013. I remember the day when on TV they gave us the news, and we were like, "What?" Because he was the second Pope ever that decided to resign. The first one was Celestino V, but during the Middle Ages. So Benedict XVI, it is clearly stated in the Vatican Constitution that if you are the Pope and if you want to resign, more than welcome. It's not a problem. You have just to give us an official, explanation of your decision. And Benedict XVI was not doing really well in that moment. He had a few issues with his health, and so he was pretty sick and pretty, weak. And so this is why I said, guys, I'm sorry, but I have to go, I have to leave. And then Francis was elected. Well, so what happens when a pope resigns? This is the big question. Who he is now? So we had to create new categories to analyze and understand the situation. So now he's the Pope Emeritus. Like when you are a professor at university and then you resign. Well, the same situation here. He spent a couple of months in the palace of Castel Gandolfo, nearby the lake, just a few miles away from Rome, and then they gave him the chance to come back to the Vatican. And this building, that was once a convent for nuns, became his new official residence, and is still there, living there, surrounded by the amazing Vatican Gardens. Look how beautiful they are. Next to his residence you can find the fountain of the eagle. So cute. Look, the eagle, because I don't know if you can see a big eagle right on top of it. This is a symbol of the Pope Paul V who commissioned it, and it's beautiful because it looks like a natural grotto. You can see a natural cave. It's very beautiful, and you can visit the Vatican Gardens. There are special tours that take you all the way around. You can also see the Tower of the Vatican Radio over there, that started broadcasting right after the independence of the Vatican City, potentiating the mass media and so the TV, the radio. That is probably the best way for the popes to overcome the limits imposed by the small size of this country. The Vatican City is the smallest country in the world, so if you want to keep in touch with the Catholics living all over the world, you have to do something about it. You know that the Pope has a Twitter account. You know what happened with that? I'm not telling you. I think they had an issue a few days ago with the Instagram account, I guess. But I'm not telling you anything about that because I'm on a sacred place and I don't want to sound disrespectful. The Palace of the Government, the Governatorato, and that was completely rebuilt in the 20th century by joining three different buildings. You see, beautiful, very beautiful. And you have the coat of arms of the Pope. Beautiful. And then probably you're wondering, okay, so we get it, the museum, and then the Palace of the the picture gallery. I'm sorry, the building where the former Pope lives now with the fountain, and then the Palace of the Government. Okay, but where does Francis live now? I'm showing you where the Pope lives. He lives in the Vatican, of course, and he didn't want to move to the official, Vatican Palace. I think that as a person, he's extremely humble and modest, and he wanted to live a very modest life, even if now he has so much power and so much influence. So that definitely understated building you can see over there is the residence where the Pope lives. Okay, in the room on the second floor, the room 201, that is usually the room where the new popes sleep and live for a few days before moving to the official Apostolic Palace. Well, that room is now is official residence. It's pretty big. It's a sort of suite, you know, so you have a sort of, you know, living room and an office and of course a private bathroom. But if you think that the Pope, that is one of the most influential, you know, people in the world, lives in a huge building, and it's not the only, but in a few rooms, and it's not the only one living there, I think it's quite interesting, in my opinion, and gives you the measure of, you know, who Francis is and what a very interesting personality he has, I guess. Over there you can see the Orthodox Church dedicated to St. Catherine. That is an apologetic Russian in structure, you see? So it's absolutely beautiful. I love coming here. It's great. Amazing. Okay, and now it's getting a bit crowded now. Well, guys, crowded. This is nothing, okay? Just a last glimpse to the square. I'm taking it there. If you think that climbing is more difficult than going down, it's not true, and I'm showing you. So I'm leaving here. I'm going down. This is the exit. And again. Okay, let's do it. Oh. Why am I doing this? Can you see my feet? Okay. Okay, let's go down. And now I'm trying to do something. I don't know if I am allowed to show you the church. Let's see what happens, okay? Ta-da. Did you like the view? Wasn't it cool? It's beautiful. I told you, I have been working here for the past 13 years, I guess, yes. And actually the first time I climbed the dome, it was with my professor, the German art historian Christoph Leutpold Frommel. That was probably the best professor ever. It's a bit old now, but of course it still works and still studies. Look how cool. As you can see, as you go down, the walls curve because we are actually, you know, between the two domes, okay? The inner one and the exterior one. The exterior dome is a protection for the inner one, okay? And you probably noticed the last time I came that they are restoring. It's a restoration that began, I told you, on September the 2nd, 2019. And it's the last part of a very ambitious project of cleaning the basilica, okay? And so this is probably the last thing that they are going to do. The problem is that the dome, the outer structure, is protected by lead tiles, but the main architecture is made of travertine, which is this limestone that gets quarried a few miles away from Rome. But the problem is that this specific kind of limestone, it's very porous, so it absorbs the pollution coming from the traffic, from the modern city, you know. And so this is why it's necessary every now and then to clean everything. And they use very simple, tools to clean the surfaces. With the Colosseum, for example, they used high pressured water and toothbrushes. Can you imagine brushing the Colosseum with toothbrushes? So when you feel the instinct of complaining because of your job, think about those poor guys with the toothbrushes cleaning the Colosseum. I don't know if they're using the same technique here. I'm not an expert, so I won't go in depth with it because I can't. And you see? Are you feeling dizzy? Because I am. I know that they will stop. Okay. Are you vomiting? I'm about to. Okay, here we are. Oh, look, that is the Palace of the Government. Again. Look how beautiful it is today. The light is spectacular. Okay, and in a while we'll go out and I'll show you that when you climb the dome, you can climb with us, you can climb by yourselves. It's not a problem. There's no way to reserve your ticket before you come here, so you can buy the tickets just at the ticket booths that we have under the porch of St Peter's Basilica. I told you about €8 if you want to take the stairs and €10 if you want to take the elevator at least to the first level, because then if you want to go all the way up, you need to climb. There's no way to skip those steps, and that's the problem. I think you noticed. So we are now on the first level. You see, it's impossible to open that door, but if we could, we will be in the dome. And okay, so you go out through here. I'm sorry if the video is a bit bouncy, but as I told you the last time, tripods or selfie sticks or other tools are not allowed. Look how beautiful when you come out. The sun today is just spectacular. You can probably hear the people cleaning and working. Okay, we go down. Oh, the steps are a bit wet, so I have to be careful. And what I love about coming out through here is that here you find the lovely face of Michelangelo. This is a copy of a very famous portrait that was made by Daniele da Volterra. There was an artist that was pretty close to Michelangelo. Unfortunately, it was the one who was asked to censor and cover all the naked bodies that Michelangelo had painted in the beautiful fresco that we call The Last Judgment. And I am in love with this portrait because it shows you a very famous feature of Michelangelo's face, his flat nose. This is not how his nose was when he came to this world, but I think you know that when he was something like 12 years old, he had a pretty intense argument with a friend of his, Pieta Reggiani. Michelangelo said something very, very rude to that guy, and of course he reacted how he punched Michelangelo in the face and broke his nose. And so, you know, plastic surgery couldn't help him back then, and so this is why he remained flat nose. I was doing a tour a few months ago. Someone told me that that was a good thing because with that flat nose he could get closer to the frescoes, so this is why probably he was such a good painter. Poor Michelangelo. You see the scaffolds again. They say that in 4 years the restoration will be over. Since we are not in Italy but in the Vatican City, I believe them. And then, of course, while climbing, you have again two options. If you paid €10, you go down to the Basilica with the elevator. You take the elevator to go down. Otherwise, and this is my case, you have to go down the steps. At this level, before going down, you have a few options. If you want to buy souvenirs, if you want to buy postcards, if you want to send a postcard to your friend. You see the yellow mailbox over there? If you want to send a postcard to your friends from the smallest country in the world, which is cool, I guess. Before going down, I'm showing you the facade. There's also a bar. I never tried it, but you can actually have a cappuccino or a coffee. It's nice. Drinking coffee when you are on top of the world. It's not bad. Oh, the view from here, it's way... So I was there. You remember? I was up there. You see the beautiful bronze sphere that was put on top in 1590 with a big cross. And this is one of the small domes that has just been cleaned. So you can see how shiny and bright white the travertine is. Very beautiful. You can see how peaceful it is now. These are the statues that are right on top of the facade of St Peter's Basilica. So the ones representing the apostles. And the closer you get, the more you understand how incredibly big they are. In the past, oh yes, I can go there. I'm having so much fun today, guys. Look. Can you see how big they are? Like 9 feet, I guess. I think even more. So I'm right on top of the facade, overlooking the square, of course. You see the Christmas tree, you see the square. And this is what I was telling you, the last time I came. Aesthetically, this wanted to be a dome taking inspiration from the Pantheon. But then Michelangelo put that dome on top of a very high drum, and from the structural point of view, the dome in Florence was, of course, the main source of inspiration. And now I'm leaving this incredible, piece of heaven, because it's just beautiful and so peaceful. I mean, it's sad because I need you guys to pay my bills, but I told you it's an incredible experience. And I'm going down the steps, and let's see if I can show you the basilica. Let's hope. These are all epigraphs that remember the very important people that in the past visited the dome, climbed the dome. You remember the big sphere right on top of the dome? It was possible in the past to get inside it. And then just in the modern times, they closed the passage to go inside it because it's definitely too, narrow. Okay, I'm putting back my mask. And let's see if they will let me go inside the basilica. If you see that I stop recording, it's because they are kicking me out from the basilica, from the church, okay? So I'm risking my career for you. But come on, who cares? And I really hope that you had the chance to see the basilica at least once in your lifetime, or if you're not, if you have not, well, I really hope that you are planning to come to Rome and visit it when everything will be over, because it's an incredible monument, an incredible church. And I have been visiting this church for so many years, but still gives me the goosebumps. And to make a long story short, built for the first time in the 4th century by the Emperor Constantine on the ruins of the necropoli where St Peter had been buried, so that the main altar could be perfectly aligned with the original tomb of St Peter. The old basilica commissioned by the Emperor Constantine was completely dismantled in the 1500s because of the very interesting and ambitious Pope Julius II that wanted to build a new basilica that had to be bigger, more beautiful, more monumental, because his idea was putting in the basilica a beautiful tomb that Michelangelo was designing for him in that moment. I dedicated a virtual tour to the story of the tomb of Julius II, so if you are interested in this story that is very fascinating, just contact us and join my tour. But unfortunately it took them 120 years to build it, and so this is why, it was quite impossible for the Pope Julius to see the end of it. And the basilica, so they started building it in 1506, but it was open to the public for the first time in 1626, so 120 years later. And then of course it took them so much time to build the square and then to complete the decoration of the church. So believe me, a life is not enough to explain you and to tell you all the different phases of the construction of the basilica. But sometimes what you see is enough to understand many things, So I'm about to enter the basilica, and I have to be respectful because of course I am in a church, so I won't tell you too many things. I want to show you the most important things, and then I leave and we'll say goodbye. Okay, I'm almost there. I'm in. So that is the entrance. The main door is closed because the Pope is not coming. That is the entrance for the Pope. The guy there with the black coat could be the one that can kick me out, so I have to be careful. And I want to show you Michelangelo's Pieta. Look how beautiful this is. Can you see it? Michelangelo's Pieta, a statue that he made when he was just 23 years old. A single block of marble that he polished with, what we consider to be the ancestor of our sandpaper, so with real sand and with a small piece of cloth. Just imagine polishing the marble with such a prehistoric, tools. The only statue that was signed by Michelangelo. Sorry if I'm not telling you so much about the amazing stuff we have in here, but I have to be very careful. And I want to be respectful. There you have the tomb of John Paul II. Sanctus Johannes Paulus, because he was actually canonized. He became a saint on April the 27th, 2014. And I am in love with this graffiti on the wall that date back to 1671, 1667. The Cappella del Santissimo Sacramento, so the chapel of the Holy Sacrament, where you can go in just if you are a person that wants to go there to pray. And on the opposite side you have the chapel for weddings, because you can get married in St Peter's Basilica if you want to. You don't get married there, I mean, who do you think you are? And then something interesting, in the 70s someone decided to put on the floor bronze markers that show you how big the other churches in the world are if you compare them to St. Peter's Basilica. So this is Notre Dame in Paris, which is 130 meters. It goes from this star to the end of the church. But you see, from the star to the door, this is how much longer St. Peter's is if compared with Notre Dame in Paris. When they say the size doesn't matter, well, they don't agree here, apparently. And then the main altar with a beautiful canopy in bronze made by Bernini, and the dome. In there, right underneath the main altar, the bones of St. Peter. As a form of respect, I don't want to go there and film and make a video, because I feel like it's not respectful, but I'm just pointing you where you can actually find the bones of St. Peter. And since they're having a mass, I don't want to take advantage of the situation, so I'm just going out. As you can see, they already have the nativity scene displayed inside the basilica. So soon we will have two nativity scenes, the one inside the basilica and the one in the square. So cute. And we are out. Ta-da! Did you like it? I'm sorry if I couldn't tell you too much, but I wanted to be respectful. I mean, since I was not in the church, but in the most important church for the Catholics. This is the porch, and these are the 5 doors, and the central one is of course the famous one, dating back to the 15th century. And here you have the square. Okay, so that's it. I really hope you enjoyed what we did today with the dome and the basilica. And of course, we're waiting for you here in Rome. If you have any questions, if you have problems, if you have, things that you want to know about how to come to Rome and how to book with us, just contact the office, because we're absolutely more than happy to help you. And don't forget that since now it's probably difficult for you to come to us and visit with us, well, we have a long list of virtual tours. I am personally responsible for the virtual tour dedicated to the Borghese Gallery, and I told you the tomb of Julius II, but we have tours for everything, and not just for the main attractions in Rome, but we also have tours for Venice and Naples and Sicily and Florence, of course. So let's keep in touch, okay? I really hope that you enjoyed my walk or my climb today, and see you here soon, okay? Take care. Bye.